Edward Aschoff, welcome back to Titletown. I hope you're doing well, man.
I am doing really well. How are you doing?
Good. Just still celebrating. I know it's been over 3 weeks, but we plan to celebrate this until September the 1st, if it's okay with the rest of college football.
I mean, I didn't know Alabama fans stopped celebrating. I didn't think that they took days off from celebrating because they just keep winning. Even though Clemson won it last year, I mean, I didn't think that Alabama fans didn't think that they were going to win it again. So I guess they do like a week of not, and then they just start pre-celebrating.
Well, no. Well, okay, when Clemson won last year, we had a funeral here for like 9 months. I mean, we played the what-if game. What if Deshaun Watson? What if the official? What if Nick Saban? I mean, we played the what-if game for 9 months. It was like a funeral in Tuscaloosa.
The funny thing to me was listening to Alabama fans complain about Nick Saban after losing to Clemson. And it's like, listen, Nick Saban could go 0-12 next year, and he's still the greatest coach of all time in college football. Yeah, I said it. Bryant is number 2 behind Nick Saban, and that will never be debated anymore. Like, it's over. Like, he's playing at a different age, a better age, and he is doing it in a much better way. He has developed players at a completely different pace and way than anyone has ever done in college football. Nick Saban can do no wrong ever again in Tuscaloosa when it comes to pure coaching football. I don't want to hear Alabama fans, if they don't win the national championship, complaining about anything that Nick Saban does. Like, that is, to me, that's beyond crazy.
Hey, you should have been here after that Auburn game here for this week. I mean, it was rough, and we were pointing fingers, we were blaming. It's just the expectation. This place, and it's been like that, even during Mike Sheila days. It was all about a championship, and we were 6-6 and 7-6 and 3-8, and they go, well, we're going to win a national title this year. I mean, we have a little unrealistic expectations from time to time.
I'm a Barcelona fan, so it's kind of the same thing, but I will never blame Lionel Messi if Barcelona doesn't win a championship. So blame other people. You cannot blame Nick Saban if they don't win a championship. I got on Alabama message boards. One thing I like to do during games is when one team is losing, I like to go to their message boards and see what people are saying. The Alabama message boards were so upset with Nick Saban. I could not believe it. I really was thinking, I saw one that said, is Nick Saban done at halftime? I was like, I'm sure that there are 128 other teams in the entire country who would today go, okay, we'll take him. If you guys don't want him, listen, we will take Nick Saban.
Edward, for the game of college football, we've been debating here, is dynasties good for the game? And you could go college football, you can go to the NFL with the New England Patriots. Is dynasties good for a sport, for the overall health?
That's a tough question because I'm always a fan of watching good football, and I'm going to watch the Super Bowl even though I have no rooting interest in either team, but it's the Super Bowl. Like, even the national championship, Alabama's in it every single year. You're still going to watch because it's going to be high-quality football. It's the same thing with Golden State. And, Cleveland got their title, but you weren't thinking that they were going to be a dynasty once Golden State got going. I still really like watching the Warriors, and they're not a team that I root for. But if they win a championship, it's seeing Kevin Durant, seeing Steph Curry, seeing the best players in the world play really well. So you're seeing the best players in the NFL. When the New England Patriots are in the Super Bowl, you're seeing the best players in college football when Alabama's playing in the playoffs and in the national championship. I guess college basketball really has got the parity thing down because every year it's someone different, and it does make it exciting. But I don't think it necessarily takes away from how great the sport is if one team or two teams are going to be there at the end every year, because I like watching a good brand of sports, and if that's what it is. Again, I'm a Barcelona fan, so I love it when they're winning, when they're going after the treble, they're winning La Liga, or they're going after UEFA Cup. So you got to figure out a way to beat them. Like it's not like they're going to go away just to go away.
Edward, let me go back to this championship game. Were you surprised, shocked? Did you expect the change at halftime for Nick Saban to go to Tua Tagovailoa?
I was totally shocked that he did it, but I understand why he did it because you could definitely see a spark in the offense once he came in. And the play call was a little different. I mean, they just let him swing the ball around. And I don't know if that's just saying, hey, we know that on deep passes and on tough passes he's going to do better, or if it's just that kind of said, listen, we have nothing to lose in the national championship. I know that sounds weird, but let's see how much Tua can kind of change things and change things for what this defense is seeing. And I think the play to me that I saw, and I was like, Alabama's going to come back in this game, was when it was a broken play. He goes to the right. He should have been tackled. He bounces off and goes off for like 10, 15 yards or whatever for the first down. And I was like, see, this is just what happens with Alabama. Like, it just takes one play, and everything starts to crumble for the other team. And that's what happened to Georgia. And Alabama was a totally different team in those last two quarters.
We are talking to ESPN college football analyst Edward Aschoff. Edward, in your opinion, will we see a different Jalen Hurts in the spring, one that takes more chances, one that tries to force the football because he knows he's fighting for a chance to maybe win that starting job back?
I don't know. I don't know if that wasn't the same Jalen Hurts that we heard about last spring, because everyone said that, with Brian Dable, he was standing up in the pocket. He looked more confident throwing the ball downfield. He had better timing with his receivers. He's taking the three-step drop like a pro-style quarterback. It's kind of like Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods said after Farmers, it's different playing at home than it is in a tournament. The butterflies creep in. You start to think about timing. You start to think about leaderboard and all that kind of stuff. So for a quarterback, in spring you might be throwing dimes and you might be forcing passes, trying to get that rhythm. But it's totally different when the shots are live. And a great example is Sam Darnold this season. A lot of people nitpicked with turnovers and how much he was forcing passes. And after talking to a bunch of coaches in and around the Pac-12, in the SEC, ACC, about him as a total prospect, they said, look, this is a guy who's throwing NFL passes to guys who aren't NFL receivers, but he knows the game. And I'm not saying this is Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is not on Sam Darnold's level yet. But I do think that there's a different kind of internal clock for a lot of players at quarterback when you go from practice to games. And for Jalen, I don't think it's necessarily we have to see a different quarterback this spring. We got to see a different quarterback in games when he doesn't have to do things with his legs. I think that he's got to be a guy who can stand in the pocket and read defenses better. That's the biggest progression and transition he's got to make.
When you look at the University of Alabama, you look at the offensive side of the numbers, and we're sort of going wild when we talk about offensive numbers. If Nick Saban has got this elite quarterback that could take Alabama's offense to that next level, it gives another dimension that teams are going, oh, Lord, Nick Saban's finally got this big-time quarterback that can throw all the throws on the field, use the entire field, and it makes Alabama even more dangerous than what they've been for the last 9 years.
That's the thing. I mean, the funny thing about Alabama is imagine how good they could be with an elite quarterback. And I expected to see more of an elite quarterback out of Jalen Hurts in year two. And I don't know if that was the offense. I don't know if that was him. But we saw more of the second half of Jalen Hurts from the 2016 season for most of the year this year. And it was a totally different team. And I think Nick Saban knew at halftime, listen, I don't have the team that I had last year that, the mistakes that Jalen could make didn't show up as big because of the talent that I had all around him and the talent that I had on defense. So he had to make the change. I can only imagine what this team would look like with a quarterback who can play to the level that Nick Saban has always wanted. He hasn't needed it. So if he had someone that you say, you know what, he's a top 5, top 10 draft pick, people who hate dynasties are really, really going to hate college football.
And I guess that leads us back to the question that you and I started the conversation with. What's Nick Saban playing for now? I mean, at the age of 66, he'll be 67 in October. As you said, he's already the undisputed guy. He's number one spot. Coach Bryant's behind him now. What is this Nick Saban guy going for? Is he going for double digits? Is he going where nobody could ever break his record? What's he shooting for now?
If you play Madden, you play NCAA, rest in peace, I guess, on PlayStation, chances are you're probably winning national championships and Super Bowls every year, if not every other year. You're just playing either because you're having fun with it or you really, really like to win. And I think it's a little bit of both with Nick Saban. I mean, if he wasn't having fun, you wouldn't see any more of these videos of him dancing with recruits. I think that the guy that everyone kind of thinks is Nick Saban, gruff, doesn't like to smile, I think he is a totally different person inside, and he really enjoys what he's doing. He might not show it on the outside, but that's someone who is an elite competitor and understands that, look, I am 110% football. I don't care about the other stuff. I want to win. If he didn't care about that, he'd be done. Like, there's really nothing else for him to accomplish at this point. But I think he really likes what he's doing. I think that he is coaching because he loves being in Alabama, he loves winning, and he loves being around these kids. Like, I think it's that simple.
Edward Aschoff, ESPN college football analyst. I want to point out and ask you a question. I want your gut reaction. Dennis Dodd wrote an article earlier today, proposal to let athletes transfer instantly after a coaching change picks up steam. It's coming out of the Big 12. What's your instant reaction to the proposal there on the rule change?
I am always for kids being able to leave whenever they want to. If a coach can leave the day after signing day, or even, Juwan Cedar at Florida left a week before signing day. If coaches can leave whenever they want, then absolutely I think players should be able to transfer wherever they want to and be able to play the next year. I understand this idea of, well, you're going to create free agency in college football. Now kids are going to leave after a year if they don't feel like they're playing enough. Well, guess what? That's what recruiting is for. We see it in every other sport, in every professional sport. That's just how it is. And I think that, listen, these kids aren't getting paid. This is an opportunity to let them do what they want. And listen, I am all for staying as long as you can until you can play. But at the same time, if you're an elite player and an elite guy is in front of you and you're a year behind them, if you're in the same class and you're like, look, I am not going to – the chances of me being able to play 2 or 3 years is slim. Go somewhere else and play. I don't see the issue with it. I know that a lot of people, the traditionalists, don't like it. They don't want to see all these guys bouncing around. Well, that's their choice. I mean, if you go to a college and you don't want to play a sport and the next year you feel like transferring from Florida to Clemson, guess what? You get to do that. How come athletes can't? So I'm all for it. I think that they should absolutely be able to transfer regardless of what happens to their head coach.
Edward, do you think this proposal will make it through these different, rules panel, oversight panel? I always get confused on all the multiple NCAA different, competition panels. I mean, they've got like 9 different ones. You think this one? You think it'll make it through? Do you think it'll will become a rule? What's your hopes?
I think that this rule proposal has a better chance of becoming a rule earlier than the one that's going to the governing board that would allow all transfers to become imminent in college football and college basketball, with a couple of stipulations, freshman and sophomore, I think, because this is an opportunity to say, well, if the coaching situation is something that these guys didn't expect, then absolutely they should be allowed to leave, because I think that they can play it as, well, you won't see as much at this point, because, even with the rash of coaching changes that we saw this last fall, if everybody is allowed to transfer regardless of coaching situations, you're definitely going to see most people do it. This is a chance to kind of curb it and still give those guys an opportunity to go somewhere because they weren't, they were blindsided by a coaching change. So I think that has a better chance of happening sooner than the earlier proposed rule change of transfers.
Final question, Edward Aschoff, ESPN college football analyst. Give me your pick for the Super Bowl. Who's going to win this thing?
I mean, I think the Patriots are going to win. I want the Eagles to win. I think Nick Foles is a cool story, and they're a fun team to watch. And I'm with the rest of America, man. I'm tired of seeing the Patriots win. So I'm going to go with the Eagles as the team I want to win, but I think the Patriots will win.
And see, what we're doing is we're comparing the two, and I know we started the conversation. See, what you said is probably the average college football fan. I hate Alabama. I'm tired of them win. I'm tired of Nick Saban. I'm tired of All-Americans. I'm tired of draft picks. I'm just tired of Alabama.
But they're going to win, is what they'll end that sentence with. And I
You're right. You're right. Sure.
For all those people who say they don't like it, I wonder how many of them watch the national championship. Because that's the thing, like, watching Alabama is like, you watch them and you're like, this is what we want to get to. This is what every other school and every other fan base wants to get to. So you end up watching it. It's just how it goes. Like, I don't care about the Eagles or the Patriots. Guess what? I'm going to watch the Super Bowl. Like, that's just how it is. I want to see good football.